Hello and welcome to the Unverified Podcast. 2021, baby. We all made it through, and your favorite four boys are going to carry you into 2021. First up, I got with me Israel, aka Ayarumalade, on the microphone.
Hello, people.
And next up, on also the microphone, or next to it, as he will probably inform me in 5 seconds, we have Reese, aka Gamer Sam.
I'm currently standing on my mic. Gotta try something new.
That's the definition of a power move. That requires some core strength. I respect that. I respect that. And last but certainly not least, we have the ultimate man of the microphone himself, king of the audio devices. We got Simi, but you may know him better as Tamago2474. How's it going?
What's up? What's up? I am indeed king of the audio devices, but I'm actually not using a microphone. I'm just like speaking really loudly right now. So that's why they're able to hear me.
Yeah, it's my microphone's actually catching Simi. Yeah,
yeah.
But kicking off the year, Twitter is back at it again, doing what Twitter does. Parenting, giving life advice, and as usual. And to give us that life advice, we have Bean Dad. So, basically, this journalist, I think he's like a journalist, right? Is that
No, he's not a journalist. He's actually a musician. He's a musician.
Oh, he's a musician and podcaster. He basically said to his daughter, "Hey, we should make some baked beans," and she said, and then she brought the can of beans, and she was like, "How do you open this?" And the dad was like, he saw this as an opportunity to like try and challenge the kid. So he was like, all right, he explained some few things about like the actual can opener itself. And he says, now with all this information I'll give you, figure out how to do the can opener. A few interactions kept going on for like a while, like a couple hours. It got to a point, even one point where she was like, I hate you or whatever. And this just kept happening until like, I think it was 6 hours later, the kid finally figured out how to open the can opener. And they made some beans. And I think one of the biggest thing that kind of got him under fire is that in the 6 hours, that was what they were going to eat. So she didn't have anything to eat in that 6 hours because she was trying to open this can of beans. And then, as always, we were having a discussion on Twitter, as the Twitter intellectuals are doing, about parenting and whether or not these techniques are correct. Some people are agreeing, some people are disagreeing. And then some people are like, let's just find out more about Bean Dad. And they went through his Twitter and found some, I think it was like some pretty racist and homophobic tweets. Yeah, it has passed. And then he entered the fray. He got cancelled. And he actually had a song on a pretty big podcast called My Brother and Me. And because of all the backlash, they removed the song from the podcast. So, yeah.
Yeah. I will say, right, the dad aside, that child is a lot more resilient than me. If that was me, I would have maybe got 10 minutes in and just gone wild on the side with a knife.
If my kid did that though, I'd respect that. I'd be like, you figured out a way. I can't be mad.
You found a way.
You found a way. You opened the can of beans. That's all I said.
If you can't figure out one way, try another.
Yeah. I guess on that point, what do you guys think about this Bean Dad's parenting strategy here?
So for me personally, it's like, yeah, I guess it's nice to teach a child how to do things independently. Keep in mind that like she hadn't eaten in 6 hours, but it could be even longer because obviously she came to him saying that she was hungry.
So I understand what the father was trying to do. The father was like, I want my kid to be able to learn how to do things on their own, which is understandable. My issue with that is that that's not really how learning works most effectively. The way that we learn things most effectively is that you have some sort of demonstration or at least an explanation, and then you can do it independently. You can attempt it, right? And if it were for anything else other than your kid kind of just wanting to eat because they're hungry, it would have been a nice story. You know what I mean? If it was like, oh, my kid tried to solve a Rubik's Cube, I would have been like, yeah, that's a cool story. But because he was literally just trying to get something to eat.
I think the biggest issue I guess I could take from this whole situation, I think it was just the kid being hungry. I think what he was doing and what he was trying to get at, I understand the like value of getting her to try and figure out herself, especially because he says she has like spatial awareness like issues and stuff. So it's like trying to challenge her brain to figure it out. But I think he should have just been like after that he'll be like, all right, you've been trying, you've been going hard. Let me give you here's something to eat, and then just let her kind of work on it. It's just like a puzzle, just something to figure out.
I think knowing your kid, that's a huge deal because, it took her like multiple hours and hours and hours. There are some kids who probably would have been able to figure it out in like 5 minutes.
Yeah, which he did say that. He mentioned that in his tweets. He knew it was a challenge for her because he was like, he knew other kids would probably figure that out in like a few minutes. And this is why I say it's important to know the kid. Like, I understood what he was trying to do. I think it makes sense. And clearly he knew his kid because his kid took it well. I think it's not about the time. I think it's about knowing, hey, well, my kid, if they struggle with something for a few hours, how will they generally respond to that after the fact? And he, I guess, knowing he knows his kid better than we do, but, Twitter be knowing everything. So what can you do about it? And so, guys, going forward, if your kid asks you to ask for some beans, how are you going to respond? Not knowing all of this.
My kid is like, yo, could you help me do this thing? I would probably be like, hey, you try to do it yourself, but I would tell them how to do it.
Honestly, I'll just show him how it works and then just use it that way. Because technically, I did have a situation where my dad taught me how to use a can of beans. Oh, that was like when I was 12.
Use a can of beans,
and I wasn't
not the opener, the can.
Sorry, I meant the can opener. How to open up? Yeah, sorry, how to open up a can of beans with a can opener. Yeah, like my dad. I had that situation with my dad, but I was like 12 then, and that was relatively, painless. I think we were there for like 5 minutes, and I opened it up pretty quickly. Granted, I was 12, so yeah.
Yeah. You gotta know your battles, man. You gotta know when it's like, this isn't a moment. This is a moment. And clearly, this was the way he fucking phrased it. This was one of his battles. You could even. I think the one thing as well is that like you said, I think a lot of people didn't like the triumphant tone, but it's like, hey man, he's just proud of his kid for opening a can of beans. So,
I guess the reason why people feel that way, especially I've noticed on Twitter, especially, is because people dislike this very glorification of like struggle. Basically, people are kind of heavily against that, especially because people have to struggle for a lot of things, and it's kind of it's kind of annoying now.
Well,
basically, people are getting sick and tired.
See, I feel like that's where the value is in it, right? Is that like life is like a struggle, and it's like teaching the kid that like, hey, sometimes you're gonna need to just figure something out. And yeah, if you had fed the kid, I've been like, yeah, sometimes you gotta let your kid just be like, hey, you gotta figure this one out. You usually get help, but sometimes you gotta just work through a problem on your own, because I feel like a lot of us get to adulthood and like we get to a problem that we just can't figure out, and we're just like, what the fuck do we do? And we just hit a brick wall at times. Yeah,
that's true. I feel like and it's something I just thought of. I feel like through video games is where I learned a lot of that, right? Because I remember specifically in Ratchet and Clank 1, they had these puzzles called the Trespasser puzzles, where it was, I know, it's like a sort of visual puzzle type thing, which you need to complete to advance in the game. And whenever I got to those, I would always go to my sister's room, knock on her door, and be like, could you help me solve the Trespasser? And, she'd come and help me. But eventually, she just was like, nah, like, bro, you gotta do this on your own. Like, I'm busy. I'm studying for A-levels. What are you doing? Ask me to solve your Trespasser puzzle. so eventually I was there. I remember being there for like 40 minutes, an hour, just trying to solve this puzzle. And, and then you solve it. And it's like, oh, crap, I did that on my own.
Yeah.
And so I feel like there are so many mediums where kids can get that experience of struggling and trying, which isn't involving their literal, well-being and survival.
What's great about those? Did you ever go back, Simi, to the Ratchet and Clank thing as you're older and just try it again? Because I've done it before. I've done that before, and I was like, yo, I was a dumb fucking kid. What the hell?
Yeah, you do it, and it's like, bro, this is easy, mate. Like,
I'm probably the only one who doesn't feel this way when it comes to video games, especially like because I don't play my video games on hard modes. I play my games on the easiest difficulty.
It wasn't necessarily a thing of it being on like hardest difficulty at them times. Games were just hard.
Yeah,
they were just difficult because they couldn't make like 50-hour games, and so they would have these like 2, 3, 4-hour games in reality, but just made it so hard with puzzles that took time to figure out that would just extend like just extend it when you're just sitting there.
Yeah, back in the day, man. Yeah, games were hard just because of like the limitations. Like the original Mario, like it's still a fucking challenge because like fucking saving wasn't a thing. So it's like, oh, you got to the very second to last level of the whole game, you'll go eat a whole bag because you're right at the beginning now. But now in 2021, games are hard because they might not even be able to run on your console. So we have new challenges to face. Oh my god, fucking hell! That was fucking Cyberpunk. After how many years of development? How many years?
Announced in 2012. Yeah,
8 years of development.
I mean, that's when it was announced. Apparently, it's been about like 10 years in development for what I've seen.
Oh,
It's
right.
like
Oh
that.
my god.
Imagine 10 years of development.
Yeah.
And it's like,
Wait, so wow.
bruh.
So you're telling me this game was entirely meant to be made for like the Xbox 360?
Yeah.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I
Initial
need to
plan.
check them. Yeah. It was
Wild.
announced when the PS4 wasn't even necessarily a concept, and now it can't even run on that console. Come on.
Yeah, bruh.
That's wild.
Yeah.
Cyberpunk had such a freaking successful advertising campaign. Like, that game was so hyped up. And thinking about it, I'm like, I don't actually know why this game was so hyped up. Think about it. CD Projekt Red have had one
Good game.
hit game, which was The Witcher 3. And The Witcher 3 was freaking fantastic. I love that game. Great. But one game? Like, I know that people say The Witcher and The Witcher 2 are good games, but I'm talking about hits. Like, games where, because this game is so good, the next game is going to generate hype, right? You have Rockstar. Their games are hype because they release San Andreas, they release GTA 4, GTA 5, Red Dead 2. Like, they have a track record. Naughty Dog, Uncharted, The Last of Us, Jack and Daxter, they have a track record. CD Projekt Red, they got one game and they had all this hype. And I'm like, for me, I was looking forward to the game, but I was never hyped for it because I was like, I literally don't. They've never made a game like this before,
No.
first-person shooter. I have no frame of reference for why this game would be particularly mind-blowing, aside from the fact that they had a really cool advertising campaign. And I think this just goes to show that it ain't about how flashy the ads are. You need to see evidence of quality.
I think when people hype things up, what happens is they're not hyping it up because of, they think it's going to be a good game based on evidence. Over time, I think people start to build an idea in their heads of what the game is going to be, and they start to get hyped up for that idea for that game. I think that's part of the thing that happened to like No Man's Sky, where like I remember when everyone was hyping about that, I was like, this is an indie studio that has made like no games even close to this scope.
Nothing.
And they've just said they're gonna make a game with like 18 quintillion planets. Like, you guys should really measure your expectations. But then everyone like hears these things and they're like, oh my god, this is gonna be like GTA but with multiple planets. and then release day comes out, and then that happens. But CD Projekt Red went one step further, and the game was just fucking broken. So that didn't help at all.
I think people's love for Keanu Reeves pushed that game a lot further than their love for Witcher 3.
I disagree. I don't think so, man.
I don't know I don't understand anything with the hype of Cyberpunk, honestly. I don't know. For me, the game didn't interest me that much because I was like, I don't see anything interesting in gameplay wise. It's just, oh, okay, you just shoot things. You're in a techno world, whatever. Yeah, that was about it.
Well, here's my thing, right? I think The Witcher is alright. I'm about to hold up. let me just
hot take
let me just
incoming.
lock my door. I think The Witcher is cool, but I think mechanically it suffered in like a lot of ways. I feel like the combat to me wasn't like super intuitive, and it was just like the atmosphere of the world and the rich story that I think really made The Witcher work.
Yeah. No, I think that's like a very fair assessment. The Witcher is it's a very interesting world. There's so much depth to it. But the reason why a lot of people were turned off by it is because the combat is actually quite clunky.
I've had people try and tell me Witcher 3 is the best RPG ever made on the entire planet for years and years and years. And like, what's it, recently? I was like, fine, I'm trying to give this a go. And yeah, it is the combat and just everything like that is just so clunky, and I just hated it. And I was like, I can't overlook this. This is just not enjoyable. I don't want to have to get used to it. You know.
Question: Do you think that people who play RPG games, I don't think they're as concerned about like actual like moment to moment gameplay, which was that's the most game journalist thing I've ever said. Jesus Christ! But like, I don't think they're as concerned about that. Because like for instance, like the most hailed Fallout game, which was New Vegas, had like the worst combat in it. Like everyone agreed it's like, oh yeah, the shooting and mechanics in that game was like awful. But like the characters were really rich and the story was really rich. Like the ambience, I feel like that's what people who play those games are just looking for.
Yeah, it's more you like it for the wild. It's like, pretty much, if you could get to like Skyrim's level of combat or just swing until it doesn't move anymore, you're pretty much good as long as you have an interesting world and interesting characters.
This is making me realize I probably wouldn't like RPGs.
Probably not. Probably not. Well, what games do you play, Zero? Other than Destiny?
Mostly, I mean, I'm Destiny, Sims.
What do you mean other than Destiny?
I'm curious. Isn't The Sims is basically an RPG, like to the fullest extent, kind of, right?
Kind of, yeah.
You know what The Sims is, bro? Just Sims is one of those things where it's like it's RPG in the most technical and name-like sense, but it's not an RPG in the genre.
It feels weird to say something's an RPG when you haven't, spoke to your random guy on the street and said, yo, can you go kill this dragon gorilla that lives in the cave around the corner?
Oh, there is kind of something like I'm gonna lie, there's kind of something like that in Sims.
Is there?
Yes. The Star Wars pack, you basically do quests technically.
I rescind my previous statement, The Sims is an RPG.
Yeah.
I mean, Sims would be a completely different game, though, if anytime your hunger got low, rather than just changing the icon on the bottom right, it just went, quest started, eat food.
Yo, for real. Yo, actually, bro, when I think about it, all of that game
is
missing
an RPG,
it's just missing quests in it. That's it.
Well, even then, you have your aspirations and life goals, and then to progress in your job, you have goals which are just quests.
Yo, The Sims is an RPG. Oh my god. Yo, I'm gonna have to break the news to my boy Connor. How much do you other guys, the rest of you, Simi and Reese, play The Sims? Have you guys played
I only played The Sims 2 on the PS2, and that was my only experience with The Sims. I played it for cumulatively 1 hour, and I burned my house down 4 times.
I didn't burn my house 4 times. No, I mean, I played a bunch of Sims 1, bunch of Sims 2, whatever that Sims 2 was on the DS. Sims 4, it's like I don't play The Sims, and then every now and then it's like something just activates from deep within, and I'm playing The Sims heavily for about a month, and then I just never want to see it again for another year or two.
Bro, before
and then it just activates again.
What is that? like what is it? I don't know if you get it too, Israel, but anyone I spoke to who plays The Sims, they're like, yeah, I don't touch it like most of the year, and then just one time, I'm just like, I have to play The Sims right now. I must play The Sims this instant. Like, what is that?
Yeah.
What the fuck is EA?
It's a seasonal Sims itch.
I think EA put something in the water.
For real. Do you know what it's like? It's like the Minecraft thing, dog. It's just like at one point.
I was literally about to say.
Yeah. It's just like it's sudden. You just.
It's because it's one of those. It's those games where you can basically do quite a lot of things, but it's like you don't really want to do it such a really, really long amount of time. So you just kind of stop playing it and leave for. I'm like, oh, you know what? Hey, I haven't done this thing in it, so I might as well do this.
That's a much more positive look than what I was about to say. I was just going to say your life is terrible, so you want to go play some Sim, they will have a better life. And then you realize their life is better than yours, so you stop and start improving your own.
Tell the congregation. Yeah, no, 100%, man. You're just like, yo, life is just not happening right now. I'm going to play The Sims. And then you get like a week in, and your Sim is like completely jacked. They have a happy family. They've progressed to the top of their career. And then you're like, yo, I didn't even do my bed this morning. And it just hits you. Yeah, no, that's why I usually stop. You take it more positively than me, for sure. Oh shit! But yeah. Back to Cyberpunk. Yeah, so such an interesting game. We stopped talking about it 5 seconds in. That's how much. That's how good a game is.
Yeah.
Freaking nothing to talk about. You know, I feel very bad for the developers who had been crunching on this game. Still now crunching on this game. Have and continue to. It's just.
Remember when they said they weren't gonna do crunch? They said they were against that.
Yeah.
I don't remember those days. Crazy.
It's like I remember when they were discussing the whole crunch thing. People were like, "Yo, CD Projekt Red don't crunch." But then every time the game got delayed, they're like, "Oh my god, the game got delayed again." I'm like, guys, what do you want?
Something I'm curious about, right? We saw the state of the game on early December.
Mhm.
What was it back in like April where they were gonna release it originally or something?
Exactly.
Jesus.
Yeah. Oh my.
Exactly.
That's so true, dog. Do you guys think because everybody's saying that, yo, give it a year, bro, Cyberpunk will be there. Do you think that's gonna happen? Do you think Cyberpunk will be the game everyone wanted in a year's time?
It won't be the game everyone wanted, because the game everyone wanted is impossible. I think people just had this, like you said, this overinflated idea of what it would. But it will be a game that you can play and enjoy. In a year,
Yes.
I think it can happen, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Well, do you think it will happen, I guess, is the question. I think it can too, but I don't know. Yeah.
Yeah, I doubt it's getting Game of the Year. Who knows? If they manage
never.
If they
no,
manage,
it's not.
I'd be astonished. But I think
they
it'll
might.
be fine. I think I think it'll be fine in a year, honestly.
What do you guys think about the game getting 9s out of 10, yet being this broken?
Oh, listen, right. If I had an exam and I got 100% of the questions right, then I ran it through a shredder 18 times and handed them, then like soaked it in water and handed that in.
Yeah,
I don't expect to be getting full marks.
But these journalists would be like, all right, guys, we picked up all the pieces. We started gluing it back together, and once we looked at it, it's actually pretty okay.
They don't even have half the pieces. Did that game have any actual testing, by the way? Because like people joke with, say, like Bethesda games, like, oh, did they not have any like testers? But like a large amount of, say, like Skyrim and Fallout players can go without ever seeing any significant bug. Literally every person who even looked at the name Cyberpunk experienced a bug. How did none of these get caught?
You know what I think it was? I think I'm about to put my tinfoil hat on. I think they full well knew how damn broken it was, and they just crossed their fingers and were like, let's see what happens.
That's definitely what they did. No, that's
100%.
That's what they did. They were relying on the strength of their advertising campaign to sell the copies of this game, regardless of the reception.
To me, it's quite deceptive, especially because they
Extremely
never.
deceptive.
It's incredibly deceptive because like they promised to release it on the Xbox Ones and the PS4, but yeah, it doesn't work on those consoles. And I really hate the argument people have, like saying, "Oh, well, you should have just bought a next gen console," and it's like. No one has an Xbox Series X or a PS5 right now, okay? People have been scalping the consoles.
It's clear that like there was a lot of time and energy put into this game. There's a lot of effort, but it's like there just wasn't any time to finish it. They didn't have the, well, they had the time, but they made a call and chose to kind of deceive people and just drop it out. And then the next gen console thing, the old gen console thing was pretty fucked as well, considering like you said, that's the primary consumer base. Like imagine if GTA 5 just like came out on PS3 and shit was just balked and it was like buy a PS4.
Imagine if it was just whack. It was like, what the fuck? Actually, GTA Online? Imagine if the base game was like GTA Online.
Exactly. Do you think this will hurt CD Projekt's reputation as a company?
Yeah. 100%. 100%.
No one's gonna trust them ever again.
You think so?
I do think it's gonna hurt them. Now, what it depends on is how well are they able to monetize this game after the fact, right? Are they gonna release DLC? Like, what are they gonna do? Because that would determine if they can still make a good amount of money on this. The shareholders will have increased faith, and then they can make another game.
If in a year's time they have polished up, they fixed the bugs, and it is a working game, not necessarily what people expected, but close to what people expected, I think some faith will be restored. I mean, they won't ever get to the same level, but like, if, for example, take like No Man's Sky, if that was hella buggy and broken to all hell, but it's had such like a redemption story that now if like Hello Games was coming out with another game, people would, they wouldn't get as hyped and have expectations, say, of like how No Man's Sky was expected. They would now actually more reasonably base expectations.
They might be able to get back. I just don't think it's going to be in the next year. I feel like it's going to be in the next 7 years whenever CD Projekt Red make their next game. I feel like people are more likely going to forget because, let's be honest, the internet kind of has a short attention span, and like games development is long, and so I feel like it'll be long enough that people will, probably forget.
Honestly, if they just never use the color yellow again, people probably already have forgotten.
Yeah.
People probably already forgotten about Cyberpunk, and just
God.
seeing that color just triggers something and they remember. They have flashbacks. But for the most part, people already have forgot.
I have very little faith in gamers. Sorry. But I don't even know how much I don't even know how much bad faith they've lost in the public that much, to be fair. Like for a game this broken, the reception has sounded pretty half and half. I've heard quite a lot of people defending it. I've heard quite a lot of people shitting on it. So I don't know if people are gonna have completely removed that perception of like loving CD Projekt Red. I think gamers kind of just tie an allegiance, and especially when it's like a company like that, they usually will let them off. And I think CD Projekt Red, as far as their kind of audience is concerned, they'll be fine. The public, they'll forget by the end of like by summertime, people won't even remember. So
yeah,
I think they'll be fine. But like the biggest thing, like Simi said, will be like shareholder confidence and proving to them that they can make money as a company. Yeah. Do you think gamers are gonna learn their lesson about being hyped?
No, never.
Nope. They
No,
will.
like,
gamers, let's be real.
The hype is part of the entertainment. That's why people liked E3, because it's like, oh my god, I can get excited about games. I would watch E3 and I'd get hyped about games I knew for a fact I was never going to play. Ever.
The amount of times I have been like, oh, we're announcing this game, and you're like, oh, I'm about to see something about it, and they just give me the title. I'm like, oh, it's the third one. Thanks for letting me know.
Listen, Sid, but I'm still hurting about that from like 4 years ago with Elder Scrolls, or however long ago it was,
Yeah, I'm like, bro, like,
give us something, Bethesda.
Yeah, anything. I'm like, I don't need to know what font you guys use. Like,
Yeah.
Like, thanks, I guess. Do you remember when Sony announced the logo for the PS5, and it was like, it's the PS4 logo, but with a 5.
Oh my god! Wait, we really? This is what we were hyped for? Huh?
Yeah, I hate it, bro. It's like, if you're gonna announce, have something to show me, bro. But yeah, gamers will never learn. Is the moral of this story? What did you guys learn from the Cyberpunk debacle? What's the biggest lesson, biggest takeaway that you can say you took from this whole Cyberpunk endeavor?
Sometimes lying isn't always the best option. Maybe sometimes it's good to come open. Otherwise, you get this.
You're gonna scam people. Make sure they can't get their money back.
That's a good one.
No take backsies.
No take backsies.
I'd say, like, in this age of social media that we're in, if you mess up, you will be ridiculed harder than ever. The amount of Cyberpunk memes I saw was unprecedented. I'm talking the first day. The amount of memes, and they were funny as well. They were really good.
Even with the Bean Dad thing, bro. And it becomes a thing where more people are gonna see the memes than the thing you even fucked up on.
Exactly.
Just accept that. Like, more people have seen like the Cyberpunk memes and glitches than they've seen the actual game.
Yeah. I still have not actually watched someone play the game.
I would argue that the bugs and glitches are the game, but
Fair.
Yeah, I think my biggest takeaway from this one is don't gamble, kids. It doesn't always pay off. Don't be a betting man. But yeah, if you don't have to be a gambler or a betting man to know that this podcast is coming to a swift and formidable end. Not forever. Not like we're quitting. I mean, we'll be back here in like 2 weeks. But I mean, like this episode, you get my point.
I'd be starting the podcast off to a bang this year. Like, hey guys, we're ending it.
We were like, hey, big news. Podcast no longer doing this anymore. You guys have closing statements before I do my 10-hour outro.
Have fun. get Cyberpunk if you want to or not. Just know the game's probably broken, or maybe it's fixed by this point. Who knows? The most I can say is enjoy life.
I want the return of Bean Dad just so he can tell us what these great stories, stories of the great cans that he opened over the years are. I want to know.
Yo, same.
Good luck for 2021, everybody. Let's make it. Hopefully we do. We'll see.
Well, yeah. Hopefully you guys we all made it out of 2020. Set your expectations properly for 2021. Let's be real. The virus isn't going away for like the next 2-3 years. Just sit tight, get used to it. But
I thought it disappeared
here.
on New Year's.
Yeah, so crazy enough, I don't think it did. Yeah. So y'all, life. This is gonna be normal for a while. This is the new normal for some time. So sit tight, and I think it's better to do that than to be anticipating something that's not gonna come. But don't worry, we'll be with you guys all throughout that journey, providing you podcasts, providing you brilliant videos, streaming multiple times a week at twitch.tv/Unverified Show. And we're Twitch affiliates now, so that means you can use that Twitch Prime. You're out here getting those. We know you at home. You got Twitch. You got Amazon Prime. You getting those deliveries next day. So you might as well be like, head over to twitch.tv, make an account, and be like, hey, let me go support the boys. And you can do that, and it'll be beautiful, great things. And we're streaming more often now, so the money will actually be going to a good cause. I can't think of a better cause than us. Really, don't think hard about it, because I've answered it for you. Yeah. And you can check us out, obviously, youtube.com/unverified. We're out there doing what we do, posting videos. You can see the video version of this podcast, and you can see all the other great content that we're making. We're so cool. We're even on TikTok now. I don't know what our TikTok username is. What's our TikTok username, Simi?
Our TikTok username is at Unverif Show.
Beautiful. And you know where else you can find us at Unverif Show? On twitter.com. Now, personally, I'd recommend when using all these social medias to unfollow everyone, barring us, and then we'll just provide you with all the information that you need. That's my new solution to social media. So Twitter, Instagram, even TikTok, because we're all cool and young. Just do that instead. Then you'll fix all your problems. And I think that's it. Oh yeah, make sure you leave us a review on iTunes, please, if you can. Helps the podcast grow, and tells us that you're enjoying us. So not us, the podcast.
You can enjoy us too.
I don't. You cannot enjoy me. That's not without consent, at least. Jesus. But yeah, have a safe one. Here's to surviving 2021 till 2025. Game on.
Yeah, let's go.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.